So hello and welcome to another tutorial by me, Captain Panic, and it will be another Touchdesigner tutorial, and this one is heavily inspired by the work of Zach Lieberman. I really like his kind of style, and I don't know, I just love it, and I also love the code poem description in his bio, and it inspired me to do something similar for my daily Touchdesigner practice, which I decided to call lazy paintings. And one of the things I ended up doing within those lazy paintings is this one. And the idea of lazy paintings is I love paintings, but I hate to paint physically because I never seem to get control over the color, and it ends up everywhere but where I want it. So I tried out to paint digital, but I also hated it. And then I found out you can let your computer paint for you by just adjusting some parameters and setting up a setup and let something generate for you. And this way it's so much easier to let go of control and just be satisfied by it. So yeah, that's the idea behind it. I don't care if you didn't care about this. So yeah, this is one thing I came up with and which I will show today. And I want to mention that I don't want to show a final product which you can achieve. I just want to show the tools I used so you can get creative with it, and I just want to explain what the tools do and what you can use them for. So yeah, and also there's 100 ways in Touchdesigner to achieve the same thing, and I always try to show as much different methods I found as possible. So yeah, let's get started. I will just zoom out. I saved it as a base so just in case I forgot something in the setup I'm going to replay now, I have it there, because I'm definitely no professional in Touchdesigner, so I always try and error, and sometimes I error and find something pretty cool, but then I forget how I did it, and yeah, so I'm just gonna keep it here. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is something new. I'm going to use a constant channel to set up my resolution. I found this in Pakata 12's tutorials. Pakata 12 is another Patreon account which provides great Touchdesigner tutorials, which I really love. I will link his Patreon here because you should definitely give it a look. I will rename this to resolution, and now I will show you why I did this. So we are going to start visibly with a circle, and the first thing we always do is set up the resolution, and I am going to export this constant onto my resolution. And this is so great because if I want to change my resolution, and if I have more stuff like this circle where I set a resolution, I can just, and if I want to change it, I just have to type a different number, and it automatically changes everywhere I use this channel. So yeah, very handy and great for my lazy ass. So the second thing, we are going to decrease the size of this circle. This might be a little bit too small, so let's go with something like this. Yeah, and we want to make this circle move, so we are going to need a transform, which is good to adjust things on it, like scale, translate, and stuff like this. Always use the transform for this. So in my last tutorial I showed you how to make this circle follow your mouse movement, and because it gets boring to do the same thing again, even though it would be great to have this circle follow my mouse once again, but I will show you how to make this circle move around randomly. So for this we are going to use a noise, but not a top noise, because we don't want to see it. We just want some random numbers, which is a noise. So let's use a noise chop. Rename it to X, and yeah, you can see what it does. It's just a random number. If we play with the seed, we get something different, and I renamed it to X because this will be for the axis, and just copy paste it, change the seed and rename it to Y. And then also, like in my first tutorial, we need to change the range where it moves, so we need a math, and then just plug in both, so we have those two channels. And we also need to change this from this graph mode, because we don't want multiple numbers, we just want one number every step, so we need the time slice, so it gives you one number instead of multiple numbers. And now we need to check what is the parameter where our circle disappears. It's null point minus 9.7, and since it's a square, I don't need to check it on every side. So just remember, we want it to move from -1 to 1, and -1 is negative 0.6, positive 6. So we move within that, and then just export the X on the X and the Y on the Y. And now I'm going to set up a null so we can see what's going on in the background. So yeah, that's great. So now we have our movement, and now we want that circle to change its color, because otherwise it's boring. And we are going to do that with a constant, but this time a constant top, because you want to see it, and a constant top is basically a color layer. And once again, export our resolution, and then we are going to change the color of it to something with 100% saturation, because in my technique we are going to change the hue, and to make this visible we need saturation, because if we have it on white, we don't see the hue change. So yeah, just use this. And to change the hue, we are going to need a HSV, I don't know how to call it, adjust, so we can change the hue offset. And you can also see it goes from minus 360 to plus 360. So to change this, we need something that counts from minus 360 to 360. And there's a good job for this, which is called LFO. And you see it counts from minus 1 to 1 and moves regularly in between that. And we just need to change the range like we did here with a math. And once again, range, we want it to move from minus 1 to 1, and minus 1 is minus 360 and positive is 360, and voila, we move from minus 2 to plus. Yeah, and then we just export this onto the Hue offset, and you see it's happening. And now we just need to bring this onto our circle using a composite. Just leave it on default multiply, and now you see a pretty nervous rainbow circle. It might be me as a gay circle, my gay ass, but it's too much, it's too nervous. And if you don't want to change it so fast, you just need to decrease the frequency of the LFO. So change it to something like, I don't know. Yeah, this is nice. So it moves slower. And yeah, this looks good. And now we have our brush. And now we just need to make it paint. And to do so, we are going to set up a feedback loop now. As you remember, just feedback, insert a composite, change the operation mode to over, plug this in, and we are going to use this as the reference layer for the feedback. And now you see, now we have me as a gay worm. And great. We could use this as an artwork, actually. I kind of like it. But of course, this is not the end. And I'm gonna bring in a transform just to have a background, because I like this more. And also I will bring in a keyboard in to reset the feedback if we want to. So just use this keyboard in chop and export it onto the pulse. And so you just have to hit whatever. On default it's your 1 key, but you can change the key here. And if you hit 1, you just reset it. It's pretty handy sometimes. So as you might remember, if you don't want this to be this endless worm, you can bring in a level within the loop and change its opacity to something like this, and then it slowly disappears. And just to talk about that feedback once again, feedback is something like a loop or a playback which replays something and changes something from step to step. So if you bring in some adjustment like this level and you change the opacity, it will change its opacity from step to step. Like every step it disappears more. So it multiplies the 0.99 onto it. And this happens to every kind of adjustment you bring in or effect. I recommend to explore every kind of effect you find and test it. Some of them don't work and mess up everything, but some of them become pretty cool. So for example, I really like to bring in a transform into a feedback loop like this and just change the grow. I like this one a lot because it makes this, I don't know, kind of melting look, which I really enjoy. And also we can bring up the scale a little bit. That was too much. I don't know, maybe like this. It might be a little bit too much for my taste, so just, yeah, I really like it like this, but always just experiment with this. And now I also will bring in a blur because I like it more when it's more blurry. But you have to decide this for yourself. So this already looks pretty cool, but for me the circle is too round. I like it more when it's a little bit more disrupted. So it's basically a similar thing like I did in my first tutorial. I will just bring in a noise. Export the resolution, don't forget. And I will also animate that noise. Remember, abs time dot seconds is a great way to do that. And then I will just bring it into this composite. I don't really like it, but right now, but you will see what it will do. It will receive a great effect. Also, I will change the softness here a little bit. And I might change the pixel format so we have it like this. You don't need to understand it right now. It just gives us more color information if you change the pixel format. So it gets deeper with this, but right now you can see it. But so another thing I did to make this whole thing more interesting is use a displacement, because I really like to displace things. And I used in my first test, I don't really know why, but I used this first feedback thing. Just make it visible for now. And then I combined these two together again, and I used difference as the blend mode, and it gives us more of a liquid feeling. And now you can see why I did this noise onto it, so we have this irregular pattern moving around. It's not that, I don't know, I kinda got annoyed by me as a gay worm. So yeah, one thing I also did was change this offset to make it even more interesting. I really like this. And I think whoops, I'm sorry. I also blurred this one. Yeah, to make it even more liquid. So I really like this one for now. And so what are we going to do with this now? Now we have this kind of random spectrum look. And if you don't want this, if you want more control over your colors, you could bring in a ramp and use the colors you like. So let's do this. Just use a ramp. And remember the resolution, don't forget. And also I will use another blur on this because you can see those edges coming from the feedback. I don't really like it. Let's test what comes out when we use this one. The same. So it's you don't need to care whatever you use here. So okay. And I will just blur that so we get rid of those edges. Yeah, this is great. I love it. So okay, now let's change the colors of the ramp to colors you like. I don't know, I'm really into orange lately and I like it combined a blue and maybe something darker like this one. Just yeah, might be cool, might be ugly. Actually I just want some darker tone here. Ugh, this is ugly. I'm sorry, I'm kind of annoying on that. So yeah, just use some colors you like, and then I'm going to stop me now, and now we use a lookup. Now you see what that lookup does. It just blends those colors onto it, but you can still see some colors we didn't set up. And I think this is because we have some color information here. So I'm using this monochrome to get rid of every color here. Just have the colors I set up, and right now this I really don't like it because it's too heavy. So yeah, now it's better. Yeah, now we have the basically something like the one I showed you in the beginning, and if you want it to change the color, just animate the face, just use the abs time again. This is a little bit fast. So multiply it with, I don't know, something like this, and now we are slowly changing color from time to time. I like to use a circular color changing. I don't really know why, but I like it more. But once again, this is up to you, and now I will bring this down a little bit. And yeah, this looks cool. And another way you could use this is to make it even more, to give it more details. You could use it inside of a noise. So if you set up a noise, remember, and job reference, and if you use this one as a input for the noise, you get some messed up thing. I really don't like it, but sometimes it turns out cool, but not in this case. This is really ugly. I'm so sorry about this. Might be cool to play with some pixel format. Yeah, I think this one works better than before, but yeah, whatever. And I just wanted to show you this thing because you can change the amount of details if you change. Wow, this is messed up, but if you change the period or the harmonics, can give it more details and more stuff, which you can use for every kind of thing. It gives us some other and some different effect. You can also use this in a non-monochrome way. It gives you a more acid feeling, and yeah, I also like this. I really like this. It's a little bit too nervous for in my opinion, but yeah, whatever. You could change some frequency. Not frequency, but you can let it move a little bit slower by changing the period here. Or yeah, you can adjust everything basically, like you can always do. And I'm done with my tutorial for now. I showed you everything I wanted to show, and yeah, I don't know what to say more. And I hope you liked this small tutorial. I hope you learned something, and I hope you liked it, and don't hate me now because I didn't show you any useful things and whatever. Stay kind, stay creative, and stay tuned for more stuff, and stay healthy. This is especially important. I just hope everyone does. Hopefully I will see you next time, and always feel free to ask me questions. I always try to answer them. I sometimes forget to check my messages. I'm sorry about that. Also, if I ever forgot to answer, I'm giving my best, but sometimes I can't. And yeah, enough talking for now. Just enjoy Touchdesigner. It's great, and learn and explore and have fun, and return for my next tutorial. So bye bye.